She's not a leader. A leader never divides. They bring people together under a single cause. She has never done this. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. So, Danielle Smith is still in the news, and she just cannot seem to get away from the fallout of this separation question that our government is putting forth to the people of Alberta. She FAFO, she is finding out what the consequences are of using the people, manipulating the separatists, to try to strike a deal with Mark Carney and the Liberal government, and she's seeing the consequences of her actions, basically playing both sides, and I'm here for it. She's not a leader; she never has been. I'm sorry for the supporters out there that still think she has the best interest of Alberta in mind. She never did, and there's a lot of things to show that she never has and still doesn't from her actions she's doing today. For example, just right off the bat, that she reduced the requirements to put forth a referendum. The original requirements were 588,000 signatures, which was 20% of the votes that had to be collected over multiple ridings, okay? And you had 90 days to do this. And then she brought the requirements down to only 178,000 signatures, which technically you're allowed to get in one riding. That's only 10% of the potential voters in 120 days. So she made it easier to get a referendum, to give those separatists, which were a small minority, a voice, to use them, to herd them as sheep, use them as a bargaining chip. But at the same time, in that same bill, she allowed corporations now to donate to political parties up to $5,000 when it was illegal. The NDP allowed that because everybody doesn't want a corporation to be able to donate to a political party, because they're not doing it for their best interest or for the people's best interest. They're doing it for the corporation best interest. So the UCP allowed that. Not only that, they allowed third-party advertisers, like a super PAC from the States, where the maximum was $182,000. They brought it up to $500,000. So a third party getting donations from wherever can now spend up to $500,000 advertising for whoever they want to be in power for Alberta. Again, dark money, super PACs, corporations, investors, whatever you want to call it. That is influencing the vote, because the more money you have in an election, the better odds you are of winning that vote. So her party is the one who's manipulating it. So she used the separatists as cover to change the rules. And then, of course, there's other stories of her trying to rig the election by, I don't even want to say really rig the election, to favor her party to win more seats by adjusting the ridings. Okay, who can vote in what riding? And there's an article on that where it would favor more the UCP. It hasn't been put into effect yet, but they're pushing towards that. No different than what's going on in gerrymandering in the U.S. Again, are we surprised? She went down to Mar-a-Lago more times than any other politician to get advice from Donald Trump and his cronies. So she's never had the Albertans' best interest in any of her decisions. It's more for her political career and what she can do for herself and her party members. So she's now at 39% favorability. Let's take a look. So this is an Angus Reid's poll. When was this done? This was done June 10th of 2026, recently, okay? Now, these are all the premiers of all the provinces. Danielle Smith is now down to 39%. We're going to show you what has been over the last few years. But even Doug Ford, he's in big trouble. David Eby, of course, he's in trouble as well. But those are for another video, for discussions for another video. We're going to talk about Danielle Smith, 39%. This is the lowest she's been since December of 2022. Okay, from December 2022, she's 42, 46, 45, 47, 47, 47, 45, 46, 45, 46, 51 in June 25, 46, 45, 46. So on average, 46, 47% since December of 2022. 39% now? It's not good. She knows that's not good. Nobody thinks this is good, okay? Even you hardcore supporters that are not separatists know deep down inside this is not good. These are the consequences of you not destroying, but basically dividing your province, okay? As a leader, your job is to fight for the interest of your voters. Whatever it is, whatever they deem necessary, that's your response because you're representative, okay? You have to fight for them. But the tactics for fighting or what's best for your province / voters is not to divide them. It's not to show support for a minority, at the time separatists, because they did not represent Albertans, or the majority of Albertans, and they did not represent the best interests of a future strong Alberta. And the majority of Albertans see this, and now that's why she's at 39%. She's not a leader. A leader never divides. They bring people together under a single cause. She has never done this. Between changing the rules for bringing a mandate, changing the voter rolls, the voter rules in terms of how to donate, reducing healthcare costs, or increasing healthcare costs, reducing what they're investing in healthcare and increasing the healthcare costs, privatizing knee surgery, hip surgery, taking away the ability to get a COVID shot, even though they're still supplying one for the regular influenza shots, making it like it's the federal government's fault because they're not paying for it anymore, even though healthcare is a provincial issue, not a federal one. She's never been a good leader, and I think people are starting to see that. Now, what is this going to say for the future for her and her party? Time will tell. But as we're going to watch a video now, it doesn't look good, especially for her leadership. Let's take a look and we're going to discuss.
Alberta is a vital part of our beautiful country.
Mayors from Calgary, Red Deer, and Edmonton, three of Alberta's largest cities, together and showing their support for Canada.
Leaving the country would harm Albertans, and that's the last thing that we need.
That stance for staying comes as new polling from Ipsos shows most Albertans take a poor view of the Premier's performance on the matter. Done exclusively for Global News, the poll finds 56% of people disapprove of the job Danielle Smith is doing. 58% of Albertans disapprove of how she and her government are handling potential separation.
The Premier,
of course, they disapprove because they could see there was no need for this. There was a minority of voters, a small minority of voters that wanted this. And they're wasting time and resources that could be put towards infrastructure and healthcare.
Level of approval, and then her performance on the issue of separatism seem to be moving in lockstep right now, and it really seems to be pleasing no one.
The Premier continuing to champion Confederation at a UCP Calgary Leaders Dinner Friday evening.
I still believe Canada can work. I believe it's working better every day, and it can work even better in the future if we keep fighting together for it.
Okay. This, I sort of, God, she's so hollow. If you believe Confederation was working, gets better every day, and then it was what allowed this to happen, and I'll give you credit for that, okay? However, that doesn't explain why her party, lowered the threshold to bring a question like this for referendum, the constitutional change referendum question. Again, from 588 to 178 required votes, from 120 to 90 days, going from only getting it in multiple different ridings to only having to do it in one riding. You made it easier for something that's required. Like, the reason why it should have stayed at 588,000 signatures, 20% of the vote, is because to do a constitutional change, you should require the majority of the voter base wanting to do this. You shouldn't have to bring this to a vote if only a small minority wants it. You're wasting people time, because you're always going to have a small minority that wants something. You're wasting taxpayer money, you're wasting people's time, and you make it look like your province is unstable. So if you believed in confederation, you shouldn't have changed the requirements, because if Alberta truly wanted to separate, the people of Alberta, they would have reached that 588,000 signatures, no problem, in 90 days.
Political scientist believes allowing a separation question while campaigning against leaving is affecting the perception of Smith and her party.
Yeah.
Among decided voters, the Ipsos poll shows the UCP now has a 3-point lead over the NDP. That's down.
That's huge. Okay. That's 3%. That's basically 3% margin of error. I think it's 3 or 2%. They say margin of error. That's basically a tie right now. They're tides. So going forward, I don't know how Danielle Smith is going to be able to get out of this in terms of how she's going to help her, how she's going to prove to the people that she's a good leader, her image, how she's going to fix her image. Especially when it comes out the amount of money that's going to be spent on this stupid question that nobody, well, majority of Albertans wanted at all. Okay? Where that money, there's a story out right now of how a bunch of volunteers, business owners, went to fill potholes on Highway 63, which is a vital transportation artery to the oil sands. That her government is falling behind on just infrastructure maintenance. Okay? They're responsible for that roads. And volunteers, like local citizens, went and used, industry, business owners took their equipment, bought the asphalt, and went to fill potholes because they were sick of it. You're spending too much time on something people don't want and not enough time on people what they need. What do you think those potholes do to people's vehicles, trucks, maintenance, the time? You're costing people money, not only on this stupid referendum question, but also on their everyday lives, where the cost of living is already increased. She's not a good leader. This is why the NDP is now tied with the UCP.
From the 2023 election.
That reflects sort of that middle road that she's been trying to take. And the question reflects that.
Experts say the key will be how Smith handles the next 4 months.
If she's able to get past the sovereignty issue, if she's able to push it off the agenda, everybody's had their say, maybe there's a possibility here for recovery.
Setting up an important summer of separation messaging. Eric Bay, Global News.
Okay, that last comment where the guy said it's going to be interesting if Danielle Smith is able to, get past this, let everybody have their say, and then maybe she can get back to running the province and her image back. No, it's not going to, because people are going to, like I said, when the people find out how much money was blown on this question, on this referendum question, the millions of dollars, the time spent. Also, the separatists are going to be pissed. They are pissed. They're not going to be pissed. They're pissed that they were used as sheep, because they were, and they are. You could check out a video I did about how Danielle Smith is not a separatist, but she's a sheep herder, and the separatists were the sheep. So they're pissed. So they're going to spend time and resources trying to undermine the UCP, either try to take them over, running candidates against them in ridings that they have a lot of supports, which will lose seats for the UCP. Running the separatists may run their own party. She's done. The damage is done. How bad the damage is going to be is an interesting question, but I think there's a good chance that best case scenario, in my opinion, is UCP has a minority government with maybe one or two separatist MLAs in the government. That's best case scenario for what I'm saying is for the UCP. Worst case scenario for the UCP is they lose control and NDP takes majority government in the next election. I've got no skin in the game on this one. But Alberta, this is your province. She's not good, in my opinion, and the polls seem to agree with me as well. It's going to be interesting in the next couple of months, but this is it. This is the beginning of the end for Danielle Smith, and this is what her legacy is going to be about, and she deserves it. She FAFO'd around, and this is the consequence. And I'm okay with that. I think she deserves this footnote in history of the premier who almost destroyed Alberta. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think your prediction is for the outcome of the next election. Or if you believe Danielle Smith has a shot to retain control, what do you think her path is going to be to bring back those supporters that she's lost? Anyways, guys, take care. We'll talk later.